We are back for round 2 of the chocolate coconut muffin recipe. So I'm finally going to actually put this together, and I've got my great husband standing behind the camera doing the filming because, like I said earlier, I am challenged with this stuff. So let's go ahead and get right into the recipe. I'm going to show you exactly how I made it. Started the recipe off with 4 of the eggs. Again, I use brown eggs just because they're on sale. That's not a requirement. I always like to have some paper towel handy so I can just put the shells right there before I dispose of them, so I don't get the, egg remnants everywhere. I will say this though about brown eggs. The shell, there's something special about the shell. It cracks very evenly. I haven't had an issue like you do with regular eggs and getting the shell inside of your recipe, or even when you're cooking them on the stovetop. So I do prefer the shell of the brown egg. But the nutrients are just the same as white. There's still 70 grams in a large egg and 5 grams of fat with the yolk. So again, same eggs. Buy them and they're on sale. Alright, so now we've got our 4 eggs. When baking any type of recipe and you have wet and dry ingredients, always start with your wet ingredients in the bowl. Some recipes actually will say that you should mix the dry in one bowl and the wet in another. I'm not using 2 bowls. I'm going to use one, but I'm going to start with the wet ingredients first. So our next ingredient is going to be 1 cup of the unsweetened vanilla cashew milk. I just pour that in. My ISO Splash secret ingredient, again, this is for sale on my website, and there's a lot of other different flavors that go along with it. If you want to purchase it, just give me a private message. This doesn't have a measurement to it. I just put it in. Now that the wet's in there, you want to go ahead and give it a good stir. Take time when you're stirring to really break down the yolks really well so that they mix up well. Maybe you want to show them what this is starting to look like? I don't know. I like to use the wooden spoon because I can really chop down into the yolk of the egg to mix it. And as you can see, it starts turning a good smooth yellow consistency. You can use a blender to do this, but you need to be careful that you don't start whipping it too much, because then you're making a whole different dessert. Okay, it's nice and even. The yolk is well blended into the cashew milk. And now I'm going to go ahead and start adding in my dry ingredients. I start with the coconut flour. I mentioned to you all earlier that coconut flour really absorbs moisture, so you're going to always want to use a good amount of liquid when you're using coconut flour, and especially your eggs. That'll help keep the recipe moist. If you don't, you're going to have a bunch of crumbles all over the place. So I am going to, again, this is scratch baking, but I'm going to put in about 5 tablespoons of this. That's 3. That's 4. And that's 5. And a smidge for good measure, because I just like putting a smidge of something else in, just because. Alright, now, once you have coconut flour inside of the recipe, don't add anything else. Go ahead and definitely let that break down and stir it really well. You want to try to get as many of the clumps out of it as possible. scrape your sides down into your bowl and mix. As you can see, it'll look really, really lumpy. And it will not be perfectly smooth when this recipe is completely done, and that's actually okay. Another reason why I like using the wooden spoon is because then you can take it and press it against the side to break up some of the clumps of powder. As you can see, it's starting to thicken up some. Alright, perfect. Okay, next ingredient is going to be the Barn Dad's Ultra Fiber DX. Basically, this is just a big container of psyllium husk, which is fiber. So this is what's going to help me cut down on the flour. If I wasn't using this fiber supplement in this recipe, I would have probably gone with 8 to 10 tablespoons of the coconut flour, which that would increase your calories and carbs exponentially. But because I'm using this and only using 1 scoop of it, it significantly reduces how much flour I need to use. So I'm going to go ahead and get a scoop. This measuring stuff is kind of new to me. Again, I scratch bake, so I go off of my heart. Alright, so 1 scoop in the hatch. And again, just like how we did with the coconut flour, before we add anything else, we're going to want to mix that in really well. And it's starting to really thicken up here. The beauty of this recipe is when it gets to the flavorings, you can really go in any direction that you choose to. That's kind of what makes baking fun. Once you get your base ingredients down, then you can really start to play around with the flavors. So don't be scared to add things. Of course, watch your, macros and whatever you're adding, but don't be afraid to add things that are flavorful to your recipe. All right, I've got it to a nice, pretty decent, smooth consistency. Most of the lumps are out of it. Still have a little bit more stirring to do. But this is where I start to add in some of my spices. So this is nutmeg, and I'm just gonna put that in there sparingly. Earlier in the recipe I did not have cinnamon, but I'm feeling froggy. So, because I'm feeling froggy, I'm gonna go ahead and add some cinnamon. Why not? And that beeping was my oven. Preheat the oven to 375 degrees when you first start the recipe. Should have probably told you that to start with, but now you know. 375. Where I got that number from, I don't know. It's just a staple that I've learned with baking. You start at 375 and you kind of go up from there if need be, depending on the dessert item. So start with 375, it's safe. Better to be low heat than high heat, it won't burn. If it takes a little longer, so what? Wash the dishes while you're baking. Alright, so we've got our cinnamon in there. I'm going to stir that in. Cinnamon and nutmeg. Now I have to tell you, because the iso splash is already inside of it, this is pre-sweetened, you really don't need to add any more sweetener. But if you're a person that's really used to having a sweet item, then you're going to want to go ahead and add some of the stevia or Splenda, whatever your sweetener of choice is. I'm using my stevia. And I'm going to put, this is a 2 tablespoons. I'm going to put one, maybe two, 1 1/4. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the baking powder. I do measure out baking powder. Now, be very careful with baking powder. Baking powder will make your cake, cookies, muffins. It'll make them very runny if you put too much. So, I always, rule of thumb, my mom taught me, nothing more than 1/4 of a teaspoon, unless you're making a double batch of something. So there you go. Next is the 100% unsweetened cocoa powder. This is 20 calories per 1 tablespoon. You really don't need that much. I'm going to actually use a teaspoon today. Yes, this is my teaspoon. Right there. Toss it in. I switch and take the camera from him and let him taste test it, so you can see a live testing of it and let him give you his opinion. I know you guys think he has a dog in the fight, but truthfully he's very honest and doesn't mind saying whether he likes something or not. So I'll let my husband come and taste it for you. We'll be right back. Now we've got our cocoa powder in and our baking powder and stevia. We're going to go ahead and give it another good stir. It's looking really good. I want to just eat this batter. So this is what your batter should look like. It should seem like a slightly runny consistency. That's how you want it. You don't want it to be too thick, or again, it'll become very, very dry once it's baked.
As the guy behind the camera, I gotta say one thing. The way that it shows up on the video, it looks very yellow, but that's just because of the way the lighting is. The actual color of the batter is it's like a tan. It's like a it's about the same color as your standard wooden spoon.
Yeah.
But it just, for whatever reason, the lighting in here makes it look very yellow. Just something I thought I should mention.
It's all these recessed lights we have in here. All right, so now we're ready to go ahead and put these into the ramekins and pop them in the oven. I bake them for about 30 minutes. Be mindful that everyone's oven is slightly different. So at the 25-minute mark, you're gonna wanna take a toothpick and insert it directly into the center and pull it out. If the toothpick is clean, that means it's done, take it out. The heat will continue to cook it the rest of the way, even if it's also a little doughy, but not all the way. It's okay as well. The heat will cook it straight through. So there's an easy way to get this spooned in here versus just kind of tilting the bowl. This is a little small. I typically take a 1/4 cup measuring cup to do it. But you can just spoon them right in here. And these are pre-sprayed with cooking spray so that they don't stick. You're going to want to fill it about 3/4 of a way. Give them some space to rise. Now it's time for our topper. I looked up the nutrients on Lily, so it's a 50 calories per 1 tablespoon. So I know that I'm just making a demo of one. I'm just going to go ahead and take a little teaspoon and sprinkle it. Hey, we have a runaway chip. Gonna eat that. That's really good. All right, and that is the recipe for the chocolate chip coconut muffins. I'm going to go ahead and pop this one in the oven, and in 25 to 30 minutes it'll be done, and we're going to enjoy it.
I want to grab the finished one and show them what it looks like.
I do have another finished one. Let me go and get it. Hold on. This one's been hiding out on the table because my husband's going to eat it. So actually what I'd like to do is I'm going to switch and take the camera from him and let him taste test it, so you can see a live testing of it and let him give you his opinion. I know you guys think he has a dog in the fight, but truthfully he's very honest and doesn't mind saying whether he likes something or not. So I'll let my husband come and taste it for you. We'll be right back. All right, here we go, the taste test. As you can see, he's able to break it with a spoon. He's got a big chunk. All right, babe, what do you think?
It's really
good.
Yeah, this one's all mine. You can't have any.
And there you have it all. Chocolate chip coconut muffins. I'll go ahead and post this live for you all.
That's kind of the
you can see.
consistency. Yeah, like a muffin.
Just like a muffin. And they pop out really easy of the ramekins once you've sprayed them really well. And yeah, I'm not going to get any. I had 2 today actually. So let me know what your thoughts are on the recipe. You guys give it a try. And thank you for watching. Bye.